That a man can take pleasure in marching, in formation, to the strains of a band is enough to make me despise him. He has only been given his big brain by mistake. A backbone was all he needed. This plague spot of civilization ought to be abolished with all possible speed. 100 times every day I remind myself that my inner and outer life depend on the labors of other men, living and dead, and that I must exert myself in order to give in the measure as I have received and am still receiving. Albert Einstein.
Yeah,
not mincing words there.
No, it doesn't mince words. And Einstein was definitely a man of peace and a man of reason.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just get that out there because I'm really tired of hearing people say that Einstein believed in a God, kind of like the conventional, theistic vision of God. That's absolutely not correct.
We do have a call. Shall we dive right into that?
Let's go.
We've got Chris in Seattle. Are you there, Chris? Hello, Chris.
Chris, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi. I love the show, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You guys are talking a lot about evolution, and I wanted to run by you this evolutionary idea that I've been thinking about, and I wanted to get your feedback on.
Okay.
A lot of evolutionary biologists are somewhat reticent about how it began. Dawkins will drone on endlessly about his own personal beliefs, but he never talks about how it started. How do you go from nothing to a single-celled organism? And it's my contention that life did not begin in the oceans because of the randomness of fluid water. You need some sort of pre-life
precursors,
geometry. And so it's my idea that maybe life began deep under the ground in the mantle because water under extremely high pressure resembles ice, except it's not ice, it's very hot. And so that provided the energy and the organization to help, kind of like a crystalline template, for lack of a better word, to help organize the beginnings of life, and then it migrated to the bottom of the ocean.
That is an argument I've heard before, and I'm not really competent to judge the argument, but it's very clear that the scientific community believes that life started with the extremophiles, and what you are describing is sort of the extremophile of extremophiles. So it seems really, really plausible to me.
I'm kind of disappointed that you heard that before, because I thought I came up with that on my own. No,
I'm sorry.
I'll cry about it later, but I think about that caller, that English caller who called you earlier.
Yeah, Gary.
I think what he wanted was just for you to use the dictionary's definition and to not deviate away from the dictionary, because you don't want to be confused with agnostics. You don't want to be lumped in with agnostics. You just simply deny the existence of God. Period. There's no equivocation on that.
That people are not defined by dictionaries, and the dictionary is a very dangerous tool.
No, the dictionary is the only place on the planet where you will find an unbiased description of the universe. Nowhere else.
Sure.
If you look up theory in the dictionary, usually it says hypothesis. And
well, the word theory has plenty of definitions, and idiots like Kirk Cameron tend to conflate those definitions. But for the scientist, theory is a hypothesis that has stood the test of time.
Right,
is a well-established hypothesis.
But it can also mean idle speculation, which is what I was just presenting you with earlier.
And also, don't forget that in this whole debate about evolution, intelligent design, at no point does the theory of evolution, Darwinian evolution, attempt to explain how life originally started. Biogenesis, the precursors to life, what do they call it, the scaffolding.
Yeah.
Maybe it started in hydrothermal vents, down where it was very hot and there was a lot of sulfur. I mean, we don't know that, and that's outside the scope of what we can talk about. But that's not part of a discussion of evolution. How life started is a great question. It's a great mystery, but that's not what we're going to cover.
And for the record, the water under high pressure being like ice is not one I've heard before. So I'll say there is some originality to the argument.
And
so
also,
you guys do realize that intelligent design is just a synonym for God. No matter how you
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can use it to describe the process of evolution, which of course is pantheism. So it's just there to confuse the issue. I can't believe you guys are still talking about it.
Well, we're still talking about it because it's still being talked about. We're still facing it.
I thought the argument went away. But you might not remember me. I
Controversy?
called a couple months ago arguing about the finite state machine.
I thought it might be you.
Was that you?
Yeah, I wanted to expand on that because I really didn't have the presence of mind to make my argument. Your portly friend said the crab can't write Hamlet.
Right.
What I should have said to him is give it some time, give it a couple 100 million years, and maybe the crab will be able to do that because I don't, you don't know what the potential of that organism is going to be.
Right.
And your cell phone is a finite state machine. It doesn't lay eggs. Okay, if you guys have children, you know that your children are a literal extension of your own existence. A literal piece of you gets extended.
But that's an argument based. Evolution has sort of a limitation based on the complexity of the organism, where we do have these computer networks that are very large and very complex and have a lot of the things that look like life. So is it? I mean, this is
your computer is bounded by the inherent limitations of the atomic structure of silicon. The crab is carbon and can lay eggs. It's part of an infinite algorithm.
But
I just can't prove
at one point, the crab couldn't lay eggs and had to evolve to exist, and underwent a very long-term process in order to be able to lay those eggs. Is that the whole problem is this goes straight into the thing which people won't talk about, which you brought up, which was abiogenesis. That's not something that is particularly well defined right now. It's something that the scientific community is still researching, and that I hesitate to call it a gap, but that's because they definitely have a full theory there. There's if I may plug one of my favorite YouTube people, CDK007 has a very interesting video on abiogenesis that I encourage people to check out. And once we have a clear idea about what that means, we'll be able to say whether or not any finite state machine can fall under the strictures of evolution. And one of the things I did say was that evolution is sort of a meta process, but it has to exist within what we believe is a bounded universe. So by definition, that does make evolution a finite state machine as well.
Well, I'll just politely disagree. I consider it an infinite algorithm. I just can't prove it to you. But thanks for listening to me, and I really do love the show.
Thank you very much for calling back. I really like to continue these conversations. And it actually reminds me of a story, is that he said finite state machine, and I thought he was making a joke, and I think he was. But we never actually said flying spaghetti monster, and everybody accused me of not knowing what the flying spaghetti monster was. And at that very moment, Becky, my girlfriend, was actually with the Seattle flying spaghetti monster, which is on the Wikipedia page. So I was pretty familiar with what the flying spaghetti monster was.
CDK007 rings a bell. Is that the video that says the universe just started? Is that one?
He's got that one video. The one that I really liked that he did was the evolution of clocks, where he did a genetic programming algorithm based on clocks, and shows how the creationist argument that you can't put clock parts in a bag and shake them and get a clock out of it. And he says, well, if you put clocks under the same potentialities that protein molecules have, they will evolve clocks if the environment is such that clocks are a good thing. Yep. And at the end he says, well, how come this never happens in reality? Simple. Clocks aren't alive. This is about evolution, not abiogenesis.
Yep. Well, why don't we move on to some of our favorite quotes? I wrote some quotes down here, and I thought maybe we'd take a moment while we've got some time left here to throw some fun ones out here. Why don't you take the odd ones? I'll take the even ones.
Oh.
You can read off mine if you want.
Where are we? Okay. Okay, so these are just a series of quotes, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the first one is, the invisible and the non-existent look very much alike.
Remember who said that?
And you said that you have that down as Julia Sweeney.
I think it was Julia Sweeney.
Okay.
In her Letting Go of God.
There's my favorite one of my favorite Carl Sagan quotes is the invisible pink dragon in my garage.
Oh, yes.
And the same thing is he's invisible, you can't see him, but he can breathe fire, he can open my cans when I can't open them.
Golden teapot.
Yeah, he can drive me out to the drive-in theater when I want to go see a late movie.
Yep.
And but he's invisible and you can't see him, and he's like, how is that different from something who's not
exactly. How about now here's one from good old Albert Einstein. If people are good only because they fear punishment and hope for a reward, then we are a sorry lot indeed. Al, you couldn't have said it better. That's
there's a lot of. I mean, it depends on how you construe punishment. I mean, there's a lot of psychological theories that are based on punishment isn't necessarily somebody hates you. Punishment is sometimes just a bad outcome.
But it also gave rise to Pascal's wager and other
Pascal's
thinly
wager.
disguised attempts to hedge a bet. How about if atheism is a religion, then bald is a hair color?
We use this one a lot in Tacoma. We use this one a lot in Tacoma. At one of the bars I go to, somebody came up to us. We weren't actually talking about atheism, but they knew we were atheists. And they came up to me and said, well, you guys, and this ties right in. It's like, you guys have a faith and a dogma all your own. Da, 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 da.
You know, belief system.
It's you have a belief system. You have a religion. It's just based off of atheism. And we're like, no. And we just started up with bald as a hair color. And his response was, well, it is on the driver's license. And oh, really?
Yeah.
But I guess that's the kind of conversation you get when you're at a bar, hanging out. And if you'd like to have that kind of conversation at a bar, or a better one, you can join us at the Ram in Northgate, our usual get together. And I believe we're getting together at 5. Was it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll meet us there at 5 and 4:30. Haha, silly me.
Good burgers.
Good burgers, good beer, and we've had people show up, and it's always an interesting time. Like I said, we do a little bit of debriefing about how the show went, and grumble, the sound was weird. Except this is the one episode where the sound has been solid.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Good job.
You know what I'm talking about. And but yeah, come on out, have a good time. I won't be able to make it because I got a meeting to run to, but there will definitely be a bunch of people there.
So I think I'll finish on my favorite quote. This is the one that I enjoy the most. Science has questions that may never be answered. Religion has answers that may never be questioned. Which of those two universes would you rather live in?
Wow.
Oh boy. That kind of says it all right there.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And the thing about science is that every time science and technology and engineering is every time we hit a barrier, so far, we find a way past that barrier, and our degrees of understanding increased a lot. Like, somebody said, well, it's going to be really difficult to see evolution in a lab because evolution happens across so long a period of time, except here we are, 20-year study, somebody had the patience to do it. Mm-hmm. We have evolution in the lab, and it's pretty amazing. And that's... I guess we're sort of nearing the end of our topic, and or at least for today. Intelligent design, why are we talking about it? It's
God of the gaps. God
of the gaps, all that. It's the trials, the most recent trials have ended, but the controversy, the social controversy, and I'm not talking about the scientific controversy because there really isn't one.
And political.
The political and the social controversy hasn't ended. It is as atheists and as skeptics and as people who agree that science does its job, we need to be aware of it.
It's not going to go away because their goal is the re-Christianization of the American school system and the basically, I mean, this is spelled out in their wedge document.
Ooh,
right. the doing away with the scientific materialism and having a theistic, Christian-centered value system. That is their stated goal in the wedge document, and it's public information.
Absolutely. That's a Discovery Institute document.
Yes.
And like I said, this conversation is going to continue. This isn't the last time we're going to be talking about this, so please go to our website, give us an email, and let's keep the conversation going, and we'll have a bunch of shows like this. Thank you very much, Scott.
Thanks very much, you bet.
And we'll see you next time.
Till next week. I can't see.